Welcome to Movies That Matter, the podcast about recent films going above and beyond the call of box office returns to boldly explore a social issue affecting people's lives. I'm Nicole Finari.
And I'm Stacy Moore.
And with us today is...
Adam Perry.
Adam, what movie are we going to overanalyze this week?
This week we're going to overanalyze Molly's Game.
That's right. Penned and directed by Aaron Sorkin, Molly's Game traces the rise and fall of Molly Bloom, a former Olympic hopeful who puts off law school to run a high-end poker ring and winds up busted by the FBI. Unfortunately for the feds, Molly won't show her cards. Too much? Too much, guys. Sorry. All right.
Very good.
I was not consulted on that. I don't want to know.
That's right. You're just a guest. We're the producers. All right. What did you think, Adam?
Oh, man. I really enjoyed the movie, but it was just a colossal mess. It was all over the place. There were several plot lines that just did not need to be in it. It was super long for a movie that basically has nothing happen in it. And it's a colossal Martin Scorsese ripoff in some of the worst ways. Every scene was 3 to 5 seconds long, and it was a mess. But I enjoyed it. I don't know why. But.
Okay.
It was fun. It was fun to watch. Yeah. I feel like I had a similar reaction to it where it was a lot of fun to kind of see all the non-diegetic elements, like the poker layouts being shown up on the screen superimposed, and all those little graphic elements that were added made it really a lot easier for me to follow. Normally I just get lost in really hyper fast dialogue or narration.
Right.
That we were
There's
getting
a lot of voiceover.
A lot of narration.
A lot of narration.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it, but at the same time I was kind of I don't know. The dialogue was fun to listen to.
Okay? So who here is already an Aaron Sorkin fan?
We can take him or leave him.
Okay.
I feel like he's hit or miss with me. Generally, he's very talented and writes really good screenplays, but he can be he can be a tad misogynist, just like a tad.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of his, I'll be honest, and I really didn't like The Social Network. But because I thought he wrote a completely uninteresting, stupid story when he should have written the real story or made it fictional. Don't use everybody's real names and then completely change everything about what happened. That bothered me. But then watching this and then thinking back to the Fincher direction of The Social Network just made me realize, this could have just been, a long TV show. You know what I mean? The direction was competent, I guess.
Yeah, it was fine.
But it was nothing special, whereas Social Network really did a lot of very cool atmospheric elements. It had a voice in the direction,
Yeah.
And this just didn't. It could have like I said, it could have just been a TV show. It wasn't particularly artistic. And then I definitely felt the very long-winded speech that Idris Elba playing her lawyer gives to the prosecuting U.S. attorneys about why she's innocent and she should be believed was the most Aaron Sorkin thing in the world. He's sort of trademarked and known for those long, stupid speeches, which I was okay, this is over the top. It's unrealistic. I didn't like. I thought that was dumb.
Yeah, there were a number of dumb sequences in the movie. And going back to the poker graphic, the thing I don't understand is they kept doing little things like that with the movie where that was a very small part of it, and then they just kind of abandoned it. There was one game where they did that. And I did think that the explanation of poker terms was done really well. They didn't give you a whole glossary of stuff or not explain anything. I thought that was good, but they had little bits and sort of things you thought might be motifs throughout the movie that ended up kind of not mattering or getting abandoned. And that was the priming, not that that really matters, but I also why did they have the backstory
Yeah.
Why was that in the movie?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about sort of the pacing and the narrative structure of going back and forth. I found, demerits for me if I'm just stupid, but like I did not get that was all leading up to, spoiler alert, the fact that she caught her dad cheating as a little kid.
No, that whole thing was stupid. You're not.
And I was like,
you're not being dumb.
You didn't Easter egg to me enough, like.
No, that was out of nowhere.
Yeah. So there's like a home video clip they show of her. So it goes back and forth between her present running this game and her childhood being a competitive skier and her relationship with her sort of, what do you call that? Like stage dad, like the overbearing coach dad.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's sort of leading up to some sort of catharsis with her dad and some sort of message about how she just wants to F over powerful men. And I was like, what? Did you see it? I'm like, do you feel like did you follow the trail to get you there? Because I was like, I see where you were trying to lead me, but I did not pick up any of the signposts.
Well, I think it's telling that they basically had to spell it out for us in that scene. Like it wasn't, delivered artfully enough that we could pick up on it ourselves. We needed Kevin Costner to literally explain out loud like her psychological motivations. We should have been able, if like in a better movie, we would have been able to pick up on that ourselves.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was just a dick, and that's why she didn't like him.
Yes.
But then they, out of nowhere, it's like, oh, we have to have. It's not enough that he's just unpleasant and basically drove all the kids from the sound of it into the ground. There's got to be some other reason that was never alluded to, not even in the slightest.
Yeah, there was no foreshadowing or anything. Other than that one video clip, and you're like, how was I supposed to line up the dots from that?
No.
I just thought she was a sociopath.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, which would have been fine.
Right.
I kind of like that part of the
movie. It made her
interesting.
Yeah.
No love life, which was the movie got points for me at least.
Love stuff.
Like no stupid nonsense with that. And then it was kind of fun when there was this, like who doesn't want to like get rich and control their like be the boss of this environment, especially when they start the movie off being taken advantage of pretty much.
Right.
By I guess the guy she's the assistant of.
Right.
I did like that dynamic that was present throughout, the notion of that she was just sick of being subject to the whims of like powerful guys with insecure egos.
Yeah.
Right. And then she tried to, would turn the tables on them, and then they would turn them back on her, right? But only because like, well, you didn't think I was cute. You never flirted with me. So I'm going to screw you over.
You're making too much money. Like, that too is so you're getting tipped too well. We're going to cap your tips. Like,
yeah.
What?
Right.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I like just the storyline of her building up the game and all that stuff. Like, it was an interesting story. And the interruption to the flashback of the past were bad. And then when they didn't add up to anything, like, it was even more confusing. But I will say, boy, I'm not generally a fan of Kevin Costner.
Not now, anyway.
And I thought he did a pretty good job. Like, this is maybe the most I've ever liked him in a movie. I didn't like him. I
didn't mind it. I thought I don't want to get to this too early, but that stupid reunion between the two of them was probably the worst thing I saw on screen I can't even remember how long.
The only thing that bothered me about it
silly.
Truly that made me want to like just throw up is when she goes, how'd you know I was here? Which is exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, me too.
And then he doesn't
He's like,
explain
I'm a psychiatrist.
it. Yeah, I know.
That was his explanation. He's like, I'm a scholar of the mind. Or
right. So she's at an ice skating rink somewhere near where her...
In New York!
Yeah,
like, come on!
And here's the moment. Like, she goes there, like, she's like, ooh, I think I'll go skating.
Zippy plans to go there. Didn't bring any money. Right. She had no money on her. She had to give, what it was, like a watch or something.
Gloves. She gives the
$800
leather gloves.
Something expensive.
Yes.
And he shows up, her father shows up on the ringside, I guess, so abruptly that I thought it was one of those cheesy, hallucinations.
Yeah. Me too!
And then he started talking. I was like, no.
How'd you find me here? And he's like, I don't know. I just kind of knew. Like, what? No, you didn't. This is poor writing, Aaron Sorkin.
Maybe it was a hallucination.
So, yeah. No.
Maybe it's just, despite the fact they have a whole conversation, it's just the whole thing was a hallucination.
Yeah, maybe so.
The movie's better if you think of it like that. So then wouldn't that like crap scene wouldn't have happened.
If we interpret that as a
Oh, Lord, you guys just missed Stacy doing a spit take. I'm so sorry sometimes this is not filmed.
Oh, man, yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought it was she does, the double take, and I thought it was going to be, not her dad, and then it's like, surprise!
No, I'm really here. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, this is still happening?
Yes.
I was befuddled, honestly. I thought it was just like, oh.
Well, and especially because, okay, there's a few more things we need to say about the movie, but I'll just preview, my forthcoming discussion comments to say, I really thought that she was lying the entire time.
Mm.
And I want to get into that with you guys in a minute, but I wanted to talk about, you were talking about motifs, and I realized that Ulysses came up a few times.
Yeah, the Crucible.
And the Crucible.
And the Crucible, and I was like, what am I missing about the Odyssey? Because she talks about Circe, then they reference Molly Bloom,
the James Joyce novel, right?
Ulysses, and I'm like, how is this a voyage of discovery for her?
Aaron Sorkin wants people to think he's an intellectual and knows about old books and plays and stuff. That's maybe.
The only thing about the Crucible, I think they're actually trying to draw it back to HUAC and the Hollywood 10.
Okay.
Because that's what that's about.
About naming names. She was refusing to
name
names.
Yeah, duh.
But other than that, I don't know. And also just powerful men persecuting women.
Yes. No, you're right. Naming names. Yep. I couldn't figure out.
So Crucible works, I feel like. But Ulysses, I wasn't sure.
I didn't see it.
I think it's just because her name is the same as a character from that book.
Sure.
But again, remember when she's talking to Chris O'Dowd? So, Chris O'Dowd, no more American accents again, ever. You can't do it.
I'm telling you, it was performance art. It was bad on purpose. Like when Tom Hardy does American accents, it's bad
never heard
too.
That.
The Drop, he's from Brooklyn in that. And it's like the same shtick, basically. It's like a crummy English dude just sounding like he's imitating someone from Brooklyn.
Like guys he heard in a movie.
But it's like, this doesn't even need to be good because I'm a thespian. I'm from England, so who cares? Like,
but also, big shout out to Avon Barksdale's and Stringer Bell's lawyer being her first lawyer before Idris Elba. I'm like, are they still friends?
Yeah, Maurice Levy. Yeah, that's so. He's always a lawyer. He's in other things as a lawyer too. I think he's just the same guy, and it's like just one shared universe.
I just wonder when that happens. Do they have the same agent? Like, how do they end up in a movie together?
They're just it's just that guy just looks like a lawyer.
Yeah.
Idris Elba was probably like, hey, might make this guy, because he's English in real life, was probably like, hire this guy from the show I was on.
That's what I was, I just...
One day at work, probably made a couple G's, and he's out.
Yeah, I just thought, liar! The liar shout out, I was pretty happy about. All right, so her performance was good, but it was just like Miss Sloane with cleavage.
So here's what you and I need to talk about. This movie was the exact same as Miss Sloane, except they added the layer of the backstory. So this movie, instead of 2 layers, there's 3. There's the rise and fall, the trial, and then her youth. So Miss Sloane just had 2. That movie was way better than this one.
It really was.
In every way.
Yeah.
Sure, it was unrealistic, that a gun bill would ever pass. But I'm just saying, it was funny that the Sorkin ripoff, which is what Miss Sloane was constantly pilloried in the press for being, ended up being just way better than what he went on to produce. It's like a mirror held up to a mirror, and you're looking at both.
Art imitating art and failing.
I was just so shocked by that, because I really enjoyed Miss Sloane. I feel like I would have if Molly's Game had been insanely good still, but it was a much, much better movie, like in every way.
Yeah, I agree.
And this was just like a watered down, longer somehow version. Like, how is this movie so long? And the thing is, I didn't even notice that it was so long. Until the Kevin Costner ice skating rink, I was like, I'm ready for this to be over. And then it was. But it didn't feel like it's 2 hours and 20 minutes. Doesn't really feel like it, which I give them credit for.
I mean, I love
0
the
plot.
Yeah. No, I will too, because I hate long movies, but I was not bored.
We know that.
It's all about just sort of the conversations that sort of rapid fire back and forth and references and, are you keeping up? Are you getting like all the little,
Well, that's what he stole from Scorsese, I feel like, is that like the quick cuts, no long scenes of, like at all. Like the average shot is super short. It was kind of like, Wolf of Wall Street was one I kept remembering, which is not a movie like I'm a big fan of, but it seemed like the exact same idea where it was just like this character that kind of wanted to just like take over everything, and there's no real like
close to the sun.
Yeah, and a thing I think that a lot of people misunderstood about the other movie, Wolf of Wall Street, is that it was condoning his behavior, or to me it was just portraying it, and this was like kind of the same thing where it's like, here's what happened. There's no real reason, and that's why the scene at the end, too, rubbed me the wrong way. Like you said, she just seemed like a sociopath who just, this is what I want to do. No real reason. And that's always better. It's like why horror villains that don't have backstories are good. Why do you want to know this, like, stupid reason?
Like, I hate to say it, but I think as you're saying, the plot itself is very tired. We've seen it a million times. Like, the guy that, he wants to, own the world and gets really close, and then because of his own hubris, like crashes and burns and learns humility, or I don't know, whatever. The only thing that really made it different was that it was a woman.
Yep.
And that does have some interesting aspects to it, but I don't know if it's enough.
Well,
especially when she's so sexualized the whole time.
Right. And so go back to the Scorsese thing, which I don't watch Scorsese movies because I don't think it's okay to portray terrible people all the time and profit off of that. Like, he seriously made The Wolf of Wall Street. That Jordan Belfort has not paid back any of his victims. To my knowledge, Martin Scorsese did not donate any of the proceeds of Wolf of Wall Street.
Jordan Belfort also appears in the film as well.
So I just think that Martin Scorsese profits off of human misery, which leads me to my next point, which is that I spent this whole entire movie thinking that she was actually super duper smart and waiting for the double cross. And then I realized later, and this is what I was just dying to ask you guys. So I grew up in New York. I grew up around the mafia. When you were like, there's a bunch of Russians in Brighton Beach with too much money to spend that I can get into my high stakes poker game.
Yeah,
I'm like,
on the level.
How are you the dumbest person on earth that you don't know that? I could not believe that she didn't know it was the mafia.
You do not send them a Facebook invite.
Yeah.
You do not want them at your party.
Yeah. I just was like, she can't be, is she really...
I don't think she was
Are we meant to believe
dumb.
she was this dumb that she didn't know they were in the mafia?
I think it was just for the purposes of talking to a governing body. She's like, I didn't know. Prove that I knew. I think that was more of it.
I think she did know, and I think she thought she could master them. She thought she could master it. She thought she could control it within what she saw as her kingdom, her queendom.
But the movie is trying to sell you that she didn't know.
I know. I don't buy it either.
Stupid.
I don't buy it.
So I kept waiting for the big reveal to be like, oh, she fooled them all kind of thing. And that didn't happen. And then it was like, oh, she really was. But then, so two things then that bothered me about it. So then there's a lot of scenes where they're talking to the U.S. attorneys, and there's a lot of trial stuff about trying to force her hand to testify against the frickin' Russian mafia. And I'm like, you're trying to play this both ways. Like, you're trying to play that maybe she knew. And then I'm like, if they really thought she was going to testify against the mafia, wouldn't witness protection?
Well, I think it was more I was under the impression that they wanted like character stuff about them, but what they really wanted were the famous people. Like they wanted names because they're always talking about like the New York Post selling papers or whatever. It was like that whole speech.
They wanted the Hollywood names.
It was a means to an end. It had nothing to like. They knew they weren't going to get anything to like. Idris Elba told them, "You're like you're not going to get anything."
But that's what I was like. It's just.
But that's what happened, which is crazy.
It is what happened. But in the real story, and I didn't see enough about this, and again, which I wanted to talk to you guys. I was like, there's no way that someone asks somebody to testify about the mafia, any kind of mafia, Russian, Italian, or otherwise, and doesn't try to assure them that they will be safe and protected, right? So it was like, it included elements of the mafia that it then basically got entirely wrong, and I was like,
Yeah.
But then I was like, I grew up with the mafia. They've been part of my life forever. Like, I remember my first job, I was like, working on the labor movement, and I was like, ugh, unions, because I like didn't know of a union that wasn't a mafia front. Like, I just like had no idea what unions were. I was like, in my mind, unions and mafia were synonymous,
My dad's library union was not mafia. that he was the superhero. The beating scene was stupid, by the way.
That really happened.
I just want that.
Apparently,
I don't care. It was filmed horribly. It looked. What did I write?
It was scary.
This is from my notes that I wrote during the movie.
So for the plot, she's offered protection by the Italian mafia, which she very intelligently turns down. Then of course they're like, "No, you're getting protection."
We weren't offering.
Yeah, that wasn't a question.
She gets thrown a beating. And I wrote, the robbery scene was bad. Limp Bizkit video bad. It had this like shaky cam where it's like, we can't have the actor actually hit her. And I'm not competent enough to make it look like she's getting hit without shaking the camera around and having this like silly like court TV reenactment music. And I almost like, I felt like the slow-mo, like, it just, like, cheapened the whole thing, which is, like, one of the things that kind of, like, actually, like, ultimately frustrated me about the movie is if you took, all the stuff that I didn't like out of it, just took it out, didn't change anything, it would have been really great. And with that stuff in, it's, like, a frustrating, silly movie that I feel like I can sit here and make fun of. Like,
it would have been a great HBO movie. Like, again... I didn't need to go to a theater and see it. It was an entertaining story, but it wasn't. And also, so the whole freak accident of her, like the movie opens with this freak accident where she's skiing moguls and she accidentally skis over a branch which pops her skis off and leads to a devastating accident. That's all fake. She just quit skiing. the whole movie was framed
I'm learning about that for the first time. And I'm so happy.
Yeah, her brother really is an Olympic skier. Like, that's all true. She really did ski, but then it was like, she got to the point. I don't care.
Like, I'm not good enough.
Yeah, she was always going to be like the third person on the Olympic team. And so.
Well, it's like kind of it for skiing, right? It's like the Olympics is the goal for everyone who skis, or like X Games. I don't know,
league.
X Games, depending on what type of sport you're in. But yeah, so I was like, so then the whole movie's framed on the like, is there like destiny, or do we just have to, can you make your own destiny?
It begins and like touches on.
It's not like a little fake thing. Like movies based on true stories all have like, oh, that's fake, and then it's like there, and seconds later it's gone.
Oh my God! That's like such an easily verifiable thing. That's the problem. It was like you hinged the whole movie on like a fake thing that didn't happen that we can easily look up, right?
That poor little branch.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything wrong.
So maligned.
I'm so disappointed and amused at the same time. It's a new emotion for me.
So I did feel...
Okay.
I did feel like he was trying to make the anti-Scorsese movie.
Really?
Right? Yeah, I did. And I'm glad you brought up the cinematic stuff, Adam, because, again, I don't watch his movies. So, I've seen, like, Taxi Driver, and that's it.
I have generally stayed, with the exception of Gangs of New York, I've stayed away from
Great movie, by the way.
I really liked that one. Well, maybe I did right, because I just...
So
the rest of his movies just seem like sort of hyper-masculine, hyper-violent.
Yeah, like they're such dude films, too.
Right.
Yeah. So the one thing I'll counter to that is my dad always makes this, not to mention him a lot in this podcast, but he always makes the same argument. Like, there are those, like, violent mob movies. And it's like, well, he made a musical, a film about Jesus and the Dalai Lama, and et cetera. But they are definitely, like, very male-centric. But when I say it was a ripoff, it's like stylistically and the way it looks and the way it's edited and paced it's just like a carbon copy. And if you're going to steal on your first directorial debut, steal from like people that are like for the, like, just that are good at it. Like, it's indisputable to me that he's good at making movies. Like, you can have your opinions about it, but
right. So,
but it's like, yeah, I mean, but you're right in like terms of content, I guess. I don't know.
Is it at all self-aware, do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it was.
Okay.
I think it
That's
was.
interesting.
So I think the movie was trying to present this sort of, again, anti-mafia movie. In his long speech, he's like, no, she's not the Wolf of Wall Street. Like, there's a direct reference. He brings it up. She's not there just to get all the power and glory. She's just trying to do an honest day work. And she doesn't have ties to the mafia, and she isn't dirty dealing or any of this stuff. Like, there was no drugs or they were supposedly prostitution at any of these games. So I think he was very pointedly trying to make a movie about an honest person, an actual honest person in a dirty world, as opposed to all of Martin Scorsese's movies being about dirty people in dirty worlds, right?
Yeah, that's
But
kind of like blown my mind. I never thought it would be like, I thought like my image of Aaron Sorkin directing this movie, just like, I'm going to just do this like Martin Scorsese, but I never thought it would be because it's on purpose.
Well, that's like, I mean, I'm thinking of like The American President, I think West Wing, like he has a tendency to show, that's the only like long-winded speech of his he's ever written that I actually was like, yes!
That's the Michael Douglas and Annette Bening movie? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like so thematically again, Martin Scorsese used to corrupt systems and how they work, where a lot of Sorkin stuff is about, the good person trying to reform the corruption. I believe that's what Newsroom is about.
Never watched the Newsroom.
It was a short-lived...
Right, on HBO. But wasn't he like I'm not going to take this corrupt
Yeah, he
news
quits
thing
his...
anymore,
The first
right?
episode is he quits. He's like I think he's like a Bill O'Reilly type. He's like, actually, I felt the other way the whole time, and like quits on the air pieces and starts his own network. I think that's like the starting point of the show, but it takes place like 2 years earlier than the show came out. Okay. So Sorkin be like, I'm going to be real prescient about all this stuff.
Right. So I think it's was his attempt to show that there are good people and there are heroes, even in bad circumstances, except the fact that I literally was like, she's gonna double cross him at the end. The entire I didn't stop believing that pretty much till the credits rolled. So like the fact that she was a hero, I just thought they were foreshadowing like that she wasn't gonna be one.
Were you waiting for an end of credit sting?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah, like
JK.
Like wink, wink. Like
That's
funny.
So Aaron Sorkin is generally pretty idealistic,
right?
I find, yeah.
And then. Back to your comment, Stacy, about the sort of casual misogyny.
He writes strong female characters, but there's something underlying all that.
Right, because the only way that we know that she's a hero and a good person is to make sure that we are repeatedly told that she never sleeps with any of them, right? God forbid
she have sex.
More than 3 times that comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's
so like
fun.
Yeah.
I'm like, did you get no? But you got to know, like, she's not a slut, guys. She's definitely not.
Yeah, not.
Did you catch it? Did you catch it? Even though they were really rich and famous, powerful men, not a slut.
Still,
totally not a slut.
Right.
So like,
yeah.
Really.
And can I just point out that like Idris Elba and God love me, I can't remember the character's name. Who cares? It's Idris Elba.
Charles Jeffrey.
Great. Anyway,
none of us know. We all just said like 5 different names. Nobody knows.
John Nace.
All of us saw the movie.
This is usually the stuff you remember, so
That's
you really
true.
checked out.
No, I think anytime it involves Idris Elba, I do kind of go blank. Just like, oh,
were you talking?
Yeah.
I was just watching your mouth.
Yeah. So I feel like he gives this long speech about how, strong and honest and what a great character she has, and she's looking up at him like, oh, he really gets me. And then he's like, and then they ask her a question and he goes, yeah, no, I'm going to answer for her real quick. And, sweetie, we're going to talk for a bit. Do you want to go get dinner? And I'll just meet you back in my office. And it's so jarring. It's like, I feel like that had to be on like, I will give Sorkin the credit. That was so jarring. It had to be on purpose. But if it wasn't, then screw that guy.
Yeah.
Because it was so uncomfortable in the moment to like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Men are talking.
Right.
Is that like
Pretty much. Yeah. That's exactly how that was. Like, she's amazing. She's so strong. She's so powerful. Shh. Men are talking.
Yeah.
The grown-ups are going to sort this out. You'll get yourself an ice cream.
Like very abrupt, yeah.
Yeah. It was abrupt.
Go ice skating. Talk to your dad about what you really think.
About your issues.
Yeah. So then I guess it comes down to, for me, did you see her when the lawyer gives this big speech about what an honest, amazing person she is? Were you sold on that? Did the movie sell you on that? Does her story
Yeah, she
sell
didn't
you
do
on
anything wrong, in my opinion.
In the world of the movie,
okay, didn't do anything wrong is kind of a low bar for that speech.
Well, he said she was like she should be on a Wheaties box, right?
Right.
So we're saying that
much.
she is I don't know whatever screenwriter would not name names at HUAC. Like she's supposed to be that person. Like she's gonna sacrifice everything, all her savings, her career, whatever, because she wants to keep her good name, right?
And that's true. She did get like a lousy advance. And she did in her book. So the weird thing about the movie is he's reading the book in the movie because the book does end before the trial. So the aftermath of what happened to her, she doesn't get to write about. But it's not in publication yet. So she'd finished writing it, but no one would have been able to read the book while she was on trial. That part's not true. Mm. But yeah, she didn't name names in the book. She did what she said. She only named the names of.
Do you guys know who Player X is?
I do. Do you?
Yep.
No, who was it?
Wait, I want to. Let's make her guess.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say.
Right,
and
so
we're talking about Michael Cera, right?
Yes.
Sarah, yeah.
No, Sarah. Thank you. I'm thinking of John.
He is a superhero,
yeah,
a very
that's
famous
that's
one,
dropped in
pre-Marvel universe, but the character is now in the Marvel universe.
Right.
How recently is the character?
The first movie came out this year.
No, okay.
And the old movies came out
that
like
just gives it to
02.
me.
Although I haven't caught up yet.
Yeah, like what kind of actor would you get Michael Cera to
Good
play?
night, Dr. Larch.
Tobey Maguire.
Yes.
That's why you got that? That's amazing.
Any of your lead up did not help me, but that I went, Tobey Maguire.
Overjoyed.
So apparently
Spider-Man got it. Came back this year. Understand. Yeah.
The real game was set up by Tobey Maguire and
he would do that. He would. Spit. Yes.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, no. So he really is like that. From the description, the personality type, like he was the one who always wanted to win and just like got off in the power of it. He didn't steal the game from her, but he did leave her apparently that voice message.
Oh, but regarding what? If he didn't steal the game?
Oh, just that the game got stolen.
Oh, and so he just called to wish her,
yeah, just to be
happy trails,
snarky about it.
Right.
So what is the voice? Something like you got effed.
You're so effed.
We're keeping it clean, so I don't have to hit the explicit button.
Right.
I guess like I don't feel like Leonardo DiCaprio was in the movie. There was no character that like sense. Sort of stood out that it was.
He was off on his yacht.
Yeah,
on the 8 models or
maybe it would
whatever
have been two. Yeah, I don't know.
What do they call? What do they call their little troop? The Pussy
Posse.
Pussy Posse. That's it.
I'm ashamed to be a man. When
Leonardo DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire and all their Czech Republic models, or they call them the Pussy Posse.
But it's the dudes.
You're right.
Only the dudes are part of that. It's
the
just
posse.
like it's so.
It's like Entourage. Anyway,
it's so just like I'm like really like we don't get enough bad press.
Yeah, so then this sort of goes back to the infamous like the Crucible, and then On the Waterfront was sort of made as the counterpoint, right? The no, you're supposed to name names thing. So
big shock. Who made that? Elia Kazan,
right?
Snitch,
yeah.
Don't edit that out. He's a snitch.
Totally,
he's a snitch
for no reason either. Like nothing, no reason.
Right.
Let's do this.
Well, maybe he was like Charlton Heston. Maybe he just really believed in it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I made a whole movie about why it was right, so it's definitely about principle.
That's fine.
Moral relativism. Yeah.
Just in case you thought maybe I did the wrong thing, I'm going to make a movie to prove that I did
about it.
Just want to say about the Crucible thing, the best audience member quote was when she's saying, I'm not going to name, it's my name. I'm
It's
not
my
doing
good
this.
name,
And
yeah.
I just hear from behind me, I just hear, oh, it's like the Crucible. And then there's a pause in the dialogue, and Idris Elba gives his, so now you read the Crucible line? I'm like, you stupid idiot. You wanted everyone to think you were really smart. Now you look stupid.
They're trying to
That's true.
sell me on the fact that she does this super noble thing by not naming names of a bunch of, like, jerk celebrities who are in a high-stakes poker game whose identity
It's
she's
just
trying
like
to protect.
families will be ruined. She says, like, they should be. These guys are jerks.
So I was sort
It's
of like
they're better off with this dirtbag dad. Like,
Really?
probably not.
Really?
Get that alimony or whatever and get rid of him. He's horrible.
yeah, so
She was hedging her bets for future rings. I'm sorry, they can play her like some kind of hero, but she was just trying to like keep her good name so that she could do all this stuff later
Molly's
when the
Game
dust
2.
settled, you know? She's
Sequel
got to
that'll
do
never get
business.
made.
She's not retiring. She's got no money. She's going to have to make money again. She's going to need to know that she needs people to know that she's not going to name them.
That's true. Can't unring that bell.
There you go.
Since we're just like throwing around metaphors for no reason.
I'm almost like conversation ender, Stacy. Like, you're totally right. Like, there's nowhere else to go after that comment. Like, I think that he basically utterly failed to sell me on the fact that she was this heroic person. Like, it was an interesting story, but first of all, I didn't need her to be a hero to like the movie, but I just didn't think what she did was that heroic. I didn't think not naming names was like this like major, it wasn't the House Un-American Activities Committee that she was protecting them from. She was protecting them from literally the consequences of their own actions.
Right.
Not not a witch hunt,
I do think there's something to be said for that, like, she would have felt bad doing that.
Rude,
And
like wrecking homes.
at the end of the day, you're accountable to yourself.
But so are the guys that did what they did.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not saying that it excuses them, but she just wouldn't feel right about it, and that's why.
Okay.
I think, and they do, I think, a good enough job of making believe that that's the reason. Even though I don't agree with it, I think it's, like you said, it's stupid. They all sucked. But even if somebody sucks, if you feel bad about yourself, then you can't do it. Or then you do it and you feel bad.
Right. No, I totally know what you're saying. That is absolutely what they're trying to sell you on in the movie. But knowing that it is a real story, I'm with Stacy. Like, it just came off as like a cynical move to protect her name going forward. Like, I just don't think he tried to fashion a hero story out of this tale, and at no point was it ever convincing to me that she was the person that I was being told she was in this movie. I think it's a real failure on the part of the narrative.
Yeah. I much more enjoyed just watching her operate with her compatriots, right? Just watching women like run this game and
Yeah, the crew in New York was the best.
Right?
Yeah, this is the best part.
Great.
Which is why I'm saying you cut out the stupid backstory, the whole family just gone right there. Done. Okay, that's what, like, probably 15 to 20 minutes of screen time. Maybe you do the beating scene like a competent person, Martin Scorsese guest director for that scene. And then you got a great 2-hour movie that entertains everybody.
Yeah.
It was silly to me that all that was shoved in
it
there.
needed another cut. Just one more once over.
I mean, I
Molly's Game
think
director's
again,
cut.
it was too similar to Miss Sloane, and Miss Sloane was the opposite story. It was
Yeah.
literally all about how she was completely in control
She's just
and a
horrible,
total
like
mastermind of
amoral.
every step. Every step of the way, she plays everybody involved, but to an incredibly moral end.
Yep.
To get
Goes
gun
to-
legislation
And
passed.
goes to jail,
Goes to
by the
jail,
way. For
But
her
like,
beliefs.
she is the evil mastermind the entire time. Like, she. And this, she's like, she plays it off as dumb, but it still seems like she's kind of the evil mastermind. And her motives are shaky at best.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna watch this movie more than once in my life again, but it was silly.
We all know why.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
It's
I
totally-
respect it. I respect it.
But yeah, I said to Katie when we left the movie theater, my first thing was, you take out the actress and replace it with somebody that I don't like as much, and I was like would not have been into the movie at all. It all hinged on the performance of someone that I like watching act.
And she is great.
She is.
Undeniable.
It was just too close. It just hewed too close to Miss Sloane.
Yeah, it's the same.
And Miss Sloane
movie.
was the better movie.
Easily.
So what you're saying, I have not seen Miss Sloane. So what you're saying is give this a miss and just rent or stream Miss Sloane.
Yeah,
I got it on Blu-ray. I'll lend it to anybody.
But you have to leave an iTunes review.
Yeah, there's a yes, leave an iTunes review for this. There's a DVD in there for you peasants out there as well.
Yes. All right.
Is that a good segue to?
Yes.
All
On
right.
that note, before we segue into recommendations, social impact score. Can we wrap this up really quickly?
One.
Yeah.
I'm giving it a 1-2. Female protagonist with no love interest is good. Dad explaining her whole life at the end, like minus a lot. So 1.
Yeah, okay. Solidly a 1. All right.
Unanimous.
Yeah.
Unanimous.
All right. Tell us something we should check out, Adam. Good recommendation? I'm going to do them real quick. I got 3. 1, The Dark Tower book series by Stephen King. Got book 7 in my backpack. I'm plowing through it. Great.
People swear by it. I hear it's really good.
It's incredible. Number 2, coming out on Blu-ray a week from tonight is the best film of 2017, Blade Runner 2049. And my third recommendation, Miss Sloane. Skip the movie we just podcasted about and watch that one.
Sounds good.
I would give a recommendation, but I've been Netflix binging like old Netflix originals. So I've been watching like GLOWand Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which everyone knows about, but they're both really great.
Okay, I have a recommendation. Oh my goodness. I love this book so much. It's called The Mirage by Matt Ruff, and it's set in the United Arab States, following 3 Arab Homeland Security agents after the terrorist attacks on the Baghdad Twin Towers on November 9th.
Shut up.
2001.
What is this?
It's so... the alternate history that it presents and why things are the way they are gets a little shaky, but just the whole alternate history, I learned so much about so many key players in history based on how they had to be repurposed in this alternate universe. Mm-hmm. So
that sounds great.
Fun.
If you want a whole alternate history for like that actually happened, read Middle Eastern history. You're going to get alternate history.
Yeah. I'm glad there are other good things for us to check out. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Movies That Matter. If you did, please take a second to leave a review on iTunes, like our wonderful friend Wonder Woman did. Woo! She says, "This podcast totally helps me choose which movies are worth my time and money. It feels like a chat over coffee with friends about life, culture, and cinema. Smart, funny, and entertaining. Thank you."
Aww.
Yeah. So check out our website, www.moviesthatmatterpodcast.com, for links to the things we've discussed, and they're in the show notes. If you want to talk to us, leave a comment on our Facebook page or on Twitter with our tag @MoviesMatterPod. And also check Twitter to find out what movie we're overanalyzing next. And remember, movies matter.
And so do you.
We'll see you next time.